Alright, we've got 2 boxes today. I was kind of hoping one of these would actually show up tomorrow, but, you know, because at this point, I guess, I think this is actually all of this year's anime releases, unless all those hentai DVDs that got maybe re-released. I don't know, they haven't shipped yet, so maybe they haven't, actually... Yeah. Anyways, we'll just do what we can. I'll find things to fill other days with if needed. But for now, let's just get into these boxes. And I'm sorry about the dishwasher running in the background. I'm sure the camera can pick that up just fine. But, you know, I kind of started realizing I was running out of time today, just trying to tweak some things, VR chat, avatar stuff. Let's see, I'm going to put the receipt here aside so that we can take a look at Nendoroid, Naruto, and Yu Yu Hakusho stuff, and yeah, an ad. Yeah, and then I guess we'll also go through this pile real quick because I did get some non-anime stuff. Basically, I went to Target to get wrapping paper and went to pick up Toy Story 4, which I didn't actually pick up there. I ended up picking that up at grocery store later, but you know, I finally got that. I got It chapters 1 and 2. I would have been okay with DVD Blu-ray combo versions, but that was only for It Chapter 2, whereas it was either DVD or Blu-ray, but not the combination for this. And I'm like, oh, I'm curious about it, but whatever. We've got the Orville complete second season. Didn't even know this was out on DVD. And then Game of Thrones season 8. Because I think I got season 7, and I didn't watch it, and I don't think I'm going to put the time and energy into it. But yeah, there we go. Non-anime stuff out of the way. Let's get through anime. To begin with, we of course have here Medabots, the complete first season, 26 episodes in standard definition on Blu-ray. Actually, now I think about it, I know somebody on VR chat, this could have been really early this year or something like a long time ago. It was like, yeah. And I think an avatar reminded them of this, and I was able to help remind them of the name. They're like, yeah, nobody seems to know that. And technically, I don't either. I see English dub only, with closed captions. Region A. I guess this one says the complete season 1 collection, 26 English dub episodes in standard definition on 1 Blu-ray disc. Oh, it's got a different thing on the inside. It's always nice. But otherwise, I don't really know much about the show itself. But, you know, here it is, available on Blu-ray. Okay. I was wondering, looking at this image from the side, maybe it looked a little more printed on, burn on demandy. But I don't know that the disc did, so nothing. Anyways, we got Giant Robot, the complete OVA series on Blu-ray. Which I'm pretty sure I have on DVD Blu-ray, but, you know, let's just get the plastic off and get in there. It's always nice when there's a different image there. Let me see, down here it looks like a lot of audio. Okay, so it's just 3 different kinds of English, 1 kind of Japanese. We do have English subtitles. I see a region A there. Written and directed. Features. Episode commentary, staff and cast interviews, scoring, Giant Robot, linear notes, art gallery, pencil tests, trailers, and commercials collections. Okay. Okay, I could feel that this was a little heavier. We have 2 discs. which kind of suggests that the contents of this are probably not, you know, standard definition on Blu-ray. And we've got a reversible cover if you wanted it to match that. And since these postcards are not in a you know, not in plastic, let's just take a peek at them. Yeah, they're actual cards. Okay, yeah, they are all lined up the same. I was wondering if they weren't. But really, I guess it was just a trick of the way I flipped them over. Tricking myself. Maybe some of y'all fell for it as well. But, you know, probably not, because it's a little easier to think in 3 dimensions when you're actually doing that. Anyways, Yowamushi I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. Yowamushi Pedal Grande Road, which is a scene in this series. I don't know, this Never Stop Pedaling. Anyways, this is on Blu-ray. I think a DVD version was released almost a year ago. Actually, I don't need to do that trick, do I? Because that's there. Even though it's too late, I already did that trick, but whatever. Let's get in there. As you can hear, my Discord continues to be unmuted because I'd have to mute in a billion places. So Japanese with English subtitles, region A. Well, let's see. This should tell us 24 episodes on 2 discs. So yeah, this is a series and not a movie. Because I think the movie is called Yowamushi Pedal the Movie or something like that. We've got that stuff. It all looks familiar, but that's probably because there's similar art used on the DVD version. Unfortunately, as it's a year old and probably DVD only, that means it got buried after successfully being ripped. Next up, we've got Galaxy Express 999, the TV series collection. Collection 1, Departure, episodes 1 through 39. So it's interesting because it doesn't say it's standard definition on Blu-ray, and it feels like it's more than 1 disc. There may still be some sort of... Actually, it probably says here on the back exactly how many discs there are. Probably right down there. 39 episodes on 3 discs, which is 13 episodes a disc. Japanese with English subtitles, A Sea of Stars. Features, remastered video and subtitles, creditless opening and ending, series premiere trailer. Now if we slip this off, alright, it's the same. You know, it's kind of nice when they're different, but they don't always have to be. Alright. It looks like we've got our 3 discs there, pretty straightforward. And then we've got that guy, this guy with a gun. I wish I could say for certain who that guy was, because, you know, the fact that he's on here indicates that he's an important character. I mean, she's like on every picture of this thing everywhere, so she's definitely important, but he might be as well. Anyways, next up we've got Into You, the collector's edition version. But only limited edition, collector's edition, or whatever. And this is actually a pretty box. I really like that the colors are... Well, there's a lot of color to it, and they're a little more subdued than I think you tend to see. Very Twilight-esque. It's very pretty. I have absolutely no idea what this show is about. There goes the phone saying, hey, you got Discord messages. I see an English dub. I see Region A. 13 episodes on 2 discs. Special features down here. Clean opening, closing, Japanese promo, and Sentai trailers. So pretty straightforward stuff. I mean, that's probably what you're going to get if you get the Blu-ray only version, not the limited edition version, but, you know, sometimes that's fine. Just having access to the series is pretty good. Okay, so she's got a cup phone, and she's got a cup phone. It's a pretty background. So, I don't know what to think about this. I guess I wonder, looking at it, if so, like, this looks like they could just be possible friends, but this definitely makes it look like that they have a relationship, which would make sense. Bloom Into You sounds like a relationship sort of show. Let's see, next up we've got hearts. Wow, that's actually a pretty thick booklet. A lot of interesting pictures in there, which are pretty standard fare, I think. A lot of it's pretty standard for what we see here. This one says Bloom Into You storyboard #1 opening ending. Yeah, that's a bunch of storyboard stuff. Pretty cool looking as well. And this appears to contain the extras. You know, hence why it says extras right there. So let's take a quick peek. That's interesting. Only You, original script. Okay, it looks like it's English text. Here we have, my guess, it looks like a cheesecake. Raised cheesecake recipe. Okay, so it comes with a cheesecake recipe. Now, unfortunately, I'm not actually going to try and cook this because I don't eat cheesecake myself. So, best case, I end up with cheesecake that I wouldn't be able to tell you how it compares to other cheesecake, and I would maybe only sort of enjoy it, but I don't know. Just remember, it's more cheesecake for everybody else. And I'll just put that in there. You know, the postcards were in plastic, so I'm not trying to. And then last but not least, we have Golden Time. This is a complete collection with a new English dub. So if you didn't watch this before, and you would be more likely to watch it because there's an English dub, then you got that option. I'm still not sure what all to process about it because I didn't find it to be entirely compelling isn't the right word, entirely realistic, which is interesting because I think for a lot of people it is, but for me it's just sort of strange. No, let's see. So of course we've got our dub, we've got Region A, 24 episodes on 3 discs. So they're not solidifying on special features being there. I see special features here. Clean opening animations, Sentai, clean closing animations. I'm not sure if I can say in a lot of detail what I remember not being entirely satisfied with, other than a kind of convenience thing that I don't know. Anyways, it wasn't bad, it just didn't work out for me, but a lot of people really like it. Anyways, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. It's interesting that my anime watching is so weak, because I've had plenty of opportunity to watch stuff. It's just that I guess I don't even know where all my time's been going. I know there's been some stuff put into VR chat avatar stuff, which I'm learning more about. For example, texture swapping on an avatar. There is a problem people have talked about now that I was trying to find solutions to and alternatives to, while trying to make everything still work for this one avatar that does facial expressions through texture swaps. Like, I made it that way because the original that I have been editing only had a texture for the face, and it's got a simple enough face that trying to add polygons to it seems counterproductive. But one thing I learned is that you actually can see texture swaps under at least 2 conditions on your own avatar. One of those is if you have an animator on your body that swaps it out, and that explains why I was able to see it on another avatar. And everybody was also able to see that stuff, and so that one was good. And this one I was having trouble with that because I could make it where the avatar would blink by doing that, but then I couldn't have hand gestures doing stuff. No. The problem was once I added hand gestures, also changing the facial expression, that caused the hand gesture stuff to take complete priority of the texture, so the blinking stopped working. So it looked like I couldn't do both, but then I was able to get the blinking to work again when I put it on the idle animation, which required me to create an idle pose, which was fine, easy enough to do. In fact, now I might have a better idea how to actually do it, because I think you can get some of that stuff by default. But that aside, actually maybe that wouldn't work, but that aside, that meant that I could get the blinking by putting it on the idle animation. The interesting thing is if none of the other animations, emote or hand gestures otherwise, did stuff with the face, then the idle animation swapping of that texture continued to happen. So it's nice because it means that when the avatar is dancing, it's blinking every once in a while as well. I guess I'm not done with that avatar. I do want to make a longer animation for the blinking to add more random intervals to it, but anyways, that basically meant I was stuck in the position that everybody was saying, where I could make it blink, but I couldn't make it where the person wearing the avatar could see their own face in the mirror change like you would want to, because then when somebody plays around with the avatar, they can see that the I don't know what that is. They can see the face change, and then they can get used to their own avatar. And as other people pointed out, in a completely unrelated to my issues thing, but kind of just part of a Google search, you want to be able to do that so that if you take pictures with your in-game camera and you're making like a smiley face or something like that, then it shows up properly. So the fact that that stuff wasn't doing that is just whatever. Anyways, sorry, excuse me. That was some good, valuable stuff to learn, that I could finally do it that way, but it took a lot of not finding stuff, and maybe the next big update will fix that, but I'm finally on the other end of that hurdle and able to just do playing around with certain things again. Although this is probably in preparation for stuff that I may be about to do. I don't know, maybe I'll start tomorrow. I might try making an avatar for somebody because they said, yeah, I want to do this, and I have ideas for all but one part of it. And I have to put some animations on it. Anyways, VR chat avatar stuff. I don't think it sounds like that much. It doesn't sound like that's 1 week's worth of stuff, but I think there's been a lot of just relaxing and taking my time, which might not be as exciting for y'all, but there was some watching of Setokai Yakuin Domo. And it's okay. I think an interesting anime to draw a comparison to is Shimoneta, if I'm remembering the name right. Thankfully JoJo remembered it really quick. But there's a similar level of perversion coming out of characters, I guess. Like, the setups aren't the same. The idea of this one is our main character is a guy who is starting at his new school. One he chose because of its very close proximity to his home, but it turns out the school until very recently was an all-girls school, and so most of the people there are girls, and he didn't realize this. And usually a setup like that is kind of scary, not like fear scary, but kind of, is this gonna have that kind of joke in it? And turns out no, it tones it way down. That kind of joke, meaning, oh my god, it's a guy, we gotta treat him like a pervert. Either the people at the school are, or the writers are, something really stupid like that. But no, this one, he plays off pretty well. The student council who talk to him, they don't talk to him like, I don't think they talk down to him like girls are better than boys like a whole lot of these shows tend to. It does just, I'm trying to remember if she said anything along those lines, but it didn't feel like she had a problem with guys. In fact, the show is comparable to Shimoneta insofar as the girls are actually more interesting guys. Now, the interesting comparison here is that Shimoneta, now that they didn't do it with a lot of girls, I just remember it with a couple girls and they were really pushy and annoying. And sometimes I think people enjoy that and sometimes people enjoy it despite that stuff. And for me, I'm definitely the kind of person that if I enjoyed it and I don't remember, I remember certain things from it being amusing, but it's being forced on the audience and on the main character in that one, if I remember correctly, and it's uncomfortable. And it doesn't really feel like it needs to be uncomfortable, which is why, even if it makes up for the discomfort, I generally consider that a mark against this show because it doesn't feel like it builds into that show. And this one, it's mostly okay. It's played off less like, oh, these characters are trying to force it on the guy and on the audience, and more like they're just going through puberty. I mean, that's what they say in the show, and it doesn't really seem like that, especially since they have the main guy's little sister do some of the same stuff. But in that case, it works a little more similarly to Nichi Bros, The Daily Lives of High School Boys, in that that one kind of had this stereotype template for most of the female characters that was clearly intentionally designed to be a clear template. And the same seems to go here. So it seems okay. I think there are a couple situations where maybe things are a little, why are you doing this? But it doesn't make it not work. It's interesting because for me, watching it kind of reminded me of those other stuff, and this one was okay, but then I was always trying to do other stuff. I think a lot of my time might have actually just been sunk into YouTube videos. I've been watching people reviewing horror movies. Found flicks, I think, has been one of the majorly watched things on my plate. But a handful of cynical reviews. I think I've been trying to catch up on how it should have ended. I don't know. That's all stuff. I do have to say that there are a couple of horror movies out there that I didn't even hear the name of that I was kind of hoping when I went to Target, if I saw them on the shelves, I'm like, oh, yeah, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. I want to pick that up. That sounds like a very... I don't know. It sounds about interesting enough. Anyways, back to this. I only watched 6 episodes, so you can see my watching was a lot more sporadic, spread out. But, you know, overall, it was entertaining. I'd say if there's any problem with this, it's that while the president and was she the secretary? She's the treasurer, okay. President and secretary, I think, they are pretty different. They are a little too similar in their character quirks. So they don't work perfectly as a quartet. More like a trio and a half, kinda. But that's not too bad. There's lots of cute, funny little moments that happen throughout it. I think the one where Treasure Girl was giving directions to the guy, that scene, of course, was one of the ones I was very familiar with, and that one was, of course, very amusing. She has a character, she's an example of something that barely works as well, because they try to present her as a 180 IQ person who has a height complexity because she's really, really short for her age. She's the same age as the character, but she's one of those snobby kind of people that you kind of go, what is your IQ really measuring? Did you take an online test? Now, she's presented as being legitimately smart and a good source of information, thoughts and ideas along those lines. So, the attitude, while there, isn't completely grating, but it's kind of interesting. I guess the reason they didn't dub this is because this show has a lot of, you know, that stuff. And I'd say for the most part, the annoyances are a little below the fence line, and the entertainment is a little bit above the fence line. You know, it seems like an okay show. And who knows, it might actually also get better as I get deeper, but I didn't get deeper, and I'm probably going to switch gears because actually I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be watching and doing. And then if there's anything else to talk about, probably I should talk about Pokemon Sword. So if you ever watched Donkey's video on Pokemon Sword and Shield, it's pretty funny. And it's interesting because he puts little clips in there that are kind of half-truths. But, you know, I think Maharomatic kind of put it out. When somebody says they're half-joking, that also means they're half-serious. And it's interesting because there's some stuff... you can kind of tell that Donkey is saying he's criticizing the series without explicitly saying it, and because of that, it's really funny. And one of those ways is, I think I mentioned that playing with the Firestarter, it was probably playing on easy mode, and given how the end game works, I would say that's the case because they throw a lot of Steel-type Pokemon at you, with Fire being one of the clear advantages against Steel types. So it's interesting how that split-second hypothesis kind of worked beginning to end. Yeah. It worked beginning to end. I'm sorry, I was just also processing that additional beep since I didn't hear Discord. I think that might be a text message from my brother who comes over later tonight, but that's an aside. So, one of the things Donkey was implying in the video is that the story mode for Pokemon Sword and Shield is kind of it's... I think I mentioned for Octopath Traveler, if you're playing that one for the story, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed because that one's more about presentation, gameplay, mechanics, music. Some of the stories are there, they kind of work, but some of them are really great, and others are just kind of, why am I playing this again? So, oh yeah, because I like those two other stories, and I want to see how, I want to see what happens once I put all of this together. And, you know, that's okay. I think a lot of people really liked Octopath, and a lot of people really hate it, and that's okay. For Pokemon Sword and Shield, it's kind of an issue because, I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of people that are newer to it who just don't expect much of the story. But I remember enjoying the stories. I mean, when I got back into Pokemon, so I played Pokemon Red and Blue back on emulator back in the Game Boy days before Gold and Silver came out. I'm not even quite sure how we had emulators working and all that. All I know is we did that, and the Japanese versions of Gold and Silver came out, and I had supposed translations that didn't work, and didn't really care because I felt like I was playing more of the same game as before and not something new. And maybe I missed out in that regard, but because we didn't have any, I didn't have any disposable income until Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out. You know, I didn't get back into Pokemon, and Diamond and Pearl had a pretty good story. I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best story out there, but it's kind of one of those ones where there's high stakes and you kind of enjoy it as it goes, blah blah blah. And in different ways, the 7th generation games, you know, Sun and Moon, kind of succeeded as well. Like, I think that one mostly worked out because of Team Skull and the, you know, Ultra Beast stuff. It was kind of neat, kind of curious, but at the same time, some of it felt... Pokemon as a series has this tendency to say everybody's good guys, including bad guys. And that can make for some very cheesy, uncompelling writing, and I think, unfortunately, Sword and Shield kind of embodied that to a huge degree. My friend actually compared it to Pokemon X and Y in story, but I think I enjoyed the story of X and Y more, whereas Sword and Shield... Oh, and X and Y obviously had a superior clothing system, whereas Sword and Shield, you know, I'm glad that they've given us clothing options, because I think they said that they weren't going to do it past the 6th gen, but because they introduced it, they really need it because people do like that. The fact that they toned it down a lot works okay, but it also means that, like, I went through most of the 8th gen with the default character because none of the clothing really appealed to me, but I think that's fine. Everybody has some options, and you kind of have similar looks, but not the same looks. It works out fine. The more interesting thing is, you're talking about story for Sword and Shield, and yeah, the only thing about the flow of the story that kind of works is the whole approach to gym challenge stuff. So I guess that's two things that Sword and Shield have going for it. The wild area, which I mentioned before, or if I didn't mention before, I've gotten lost in that, and I don't mean like lost and I don't know where to go. I mean lost as in, I just enjoy sitting here doing nothing. So my Pokemon were severely overleveled for other stuff, because the wild area allows you to overlevel pretty fucking easily. But that's the closest to an official Pokemon Memorphiger, an open world Memorphiger that people have talked about always wanting. Like, not even a Memorphiger, just an open world. People have kind of wanted that, and we got that with the wild area to a certain degree. Enough so that even though there's annoyances about it, it still works out enough that you kind of like, yeah, I like being out here. But the other one was, like I said, the gym challenge stuff, and the way it kind of built into, every Pokemon game makes the Pokemon League stuff this big thing, but it's kind of interesting how by the time you get to the Elite Four, you kind of feel like you're in some sort of secret club that is all the best people in the world that everybody knows about, but nobody knows about. Like, you kind of feel like it's just you and the Elite Four in there, and, that works fine. Especially, like, the first game, that works really well just for the epic final confrontation. But, 8th Gen, it feels like, if we're going to treat this like a big celebrity thing, then our main character, whoever you're playing as, needs to kind of experience that. And 8th Gen does that, and that's kind of one of the plus parts of it. You really do feel like you're part of what is actually a highly valued sport. And it's really interesting because, no, I don't know if I want to mention that. But yeah. But the story, unfortunately, interrupts it a little bit. There's bits and pieces of detail that are in there, but you kind of are like, yeah, okay, fine, go away. I want to go challenge the next gym leader. Whoa, whoa, or something like that, And it's really evident because some of that story element is very badly written. Like, oh man, I don't think I want to say that, because if you're playing through it, I don't want to reveal, that's going to happen. But it's just like, especially near the end of the game, it's like, yeah, well, I guess, we should just go do this.
Why?
Why?
What?
We didn't hear anything that requires us to attack people. Why are we attacking people? And we've got some of the most lazy excuses to not be able to go to areas where it's like, there's this one, you're not allowed to go to the left because there's two people talking about the elevator, and your character's like, I don't want to walk in between their conversation, so I'm just going to go back this way to go up the elevator here. And then you later discover that you go down the elevator. There's elevators on both sides. They just wanted you to go up the main elevator. And their only excuse for preventing you from accidentally finding the other one was just two people who happen to be talking about the elevator. And nothing like Professor Oak's voice in your mind saying, hey, you can't use your bike here. They could have had... It wasn't Professor Birch. Why can't I remember the professor's name? They could have had Chairman Rose saying, Chairman Rose suggested I do this, or something like that. That would have worked better, but they didn't do that. Instead, they just had, there's people having a conversation, I can't go that way. Maybe I want to go this route. There's some Team Yell people that are, doing their normal Team Goon stuff, but instead of challenging them, no, I'm saving myself for the water gym. I'm just going to go confront them another day or something like that. It's it feels a little more lazy storytelling wise than pretty much every other Pokemon game that comes to mind. Main series, at least. Yeah, because I'm not completely familiar with all the other side series games. Some of them don't even have stories. But, yeah. In the end, you know, I did it. I have not captured my version exclusive yet. I've been told I need to because it's not just, oh, yeah, you can catch them, go. There's probably a little bit more to it than that. But in the course of doing this stuff, I finished it before I went over to my brother's for an all-day barbecue to meet up with a friend from out of town. You know, a shared friend from out of town. You know, it was really great. And we all did some Dynamax raid battles. It was the first time I finally got to do a Dynamax raid battle with other people, and it's a whole lot easier than when you have a damn Togepi who only uses Life Dew, and an Eevee who only uses Helping Hand, and a Wobbuffet who only uses Safeguard and Amnesia. And they all die in 2 hits anyways. And most of the time that's only because they have a Focus Sash. You know, it's so much better than playing with the computer allies. And while doing that, I discovered, oh, in order for people to be able to join my Dynamax raid battles, I have to connect to the internet first. So I tried doing that yesterday, and, you know, I did that for like an hour or so playing around with it because I was in the middle of playing around with other stuff, and for some reason, I never got invited to anybody's things except for when those things were already expired. Nobody joined my one thing that I made. I only made one thing, so I didn't try too hard, obviously. But it's weird. So I don't know if the internet wild area stuff works perfectly, but it's things to think about. Anyways, that's a lot of stuff to talk about. So yeah, obviously, if I don't get any more anime DVDs the remainder of the year, then I guess my next 2 updates are probably going to be, because I think I have 2 more updates. My next 2 updates are going to be, obviously, the end of the year apartment tour that I always do, which could be interesting. I don't know if it's that different. And if next week I don't have anything, then I might do a VR thing. Because I think last year I promised that I might try and show the whole setting up of full body VR, doing full body VR stuff. And I've definitely thought about it a lot. One of the things I'm mostly concerned about is, you know, the suspenders. I actually take advantage of the suspenders to keep the belt on, and that means I have to be very careful on camera because, you know, the idea is if you have the belt under the suspenders, then it kind of adds some stability to it, so it's not as likely to go places. It's not going to sink too much lower. It's, I don't know. Weird thoughts, but before I can, yeah, I just have to be careful doing that. And just that doesn't sound like a lot, so I'm also wondering if maybe I would talk about VR chat and avatar stuff as well. I don't know. We'll see how much energy I have next week and what kind of animes. Because if all those hentai DVDs ship tomorrow and I have those for next week, I might do that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but these piles are getting higher. Mostly because I had to move stuff from here up there because these piles are getting unstable. But I've not been catching up on these. I'm falling behind. I might have to start doing a thing where I put these in boxes of stuff that I need to process so that these are more stable. Maybe I start getting this stuff off the table, but then I have to maybe put them down here or something. I don't know. Or I just start ripping them, except of course, you know, I keep doing avatar stuff in my free time. Things to think about. Alright, I guess I've babbled on long enough. Probably a really long time by now. Y'all, have a nice week.